Previously on
Protect the Princess!
If at all possible, the exterior features should appear more human as well. They will be assigned to guard and protect the sisters from any, in their case, who exhibits severe infectious symptoms stemming from mana shock and P1 field aggressions.
Excuse me.
several days ago, my wife and my co-worker informed me of your Albas troubles. Your resources are overwhelmed from an influx of mana shock syndrome cases, and some of the Albas sisters succumbed after contracting the illness.
This is not the unfortunate truth, yes. These tragedies were entirely preventable by both your company and Hivit sought to blindly compete with each other. Both you and Hivits have committed blasphemous acts by exploiting the scarce and sacred gift of mana. Knowing now what your misguided devotion to science has bred and wrought upon our homeland, have you any words of repentance that you wish to offer?
I have no words to offer in my defense. But on the other note, I can't say that we are determined to right the wrongs that have been committed by our competitor. If Zeus Enterprises were to abandon this mana race, they wouldn't compel Hivits to stop exploiting their workers until they start showing symptoms of mana shock. I can confidently say that we hold ourselves to the highest ethics. We are the good guys here, Abbott. We care about our workers.
The nature of your business in Hivits is one and the same, regardless of your self-perception of innocence.
I'm well aware of that. And I want you to be aware that Zeus Enterprise cannot afford to back away. Not when we're so close to doing some good for Cadia. Not while we're so close to bettering the lives of the people for the greater good.
Pray tell, Mr. Zeus, is there no greater good than the grace of the gods? The geniuses of humankind was the very nature of chaos, but from the milestone came purpose. Purpose that we should accept with one arms as a mandate from the gods. Commit not sacrilege against the creators and revere the few gifts they parted away with. Mana, poisonous nature is one such gift from the gods. And yet, ingrates such as Hivits, the brood of academics, and even yourself, seek the truth, this forbidden fruit, and to go through the blasphemous study of science.
Perhaps we are all ingrates, and should just sit back and accept our roles as laborers, miners, and clergymen in life. However, Vulnerable Abbot, you forgot that our very Creator granted us with a paradoxical personality trait. By nature, we are all curious. We're just a bunch of curious creatures. And through the blasphemous study of science, we have learned about the untapped potential of mana. Our curiosity gave birth to science, which in turn has encouraged us all to foster a sense of adventure and ambition. We know that our continent exists beyond the seas, but does the threat of succumbing to mana shock stop us from risking our lives to go explore those lands? We are contradictory, flawed, and stubborn, and yet vulnerable, Abbott. These were all the paradoxical personality traits that our creators had bestowed upon us.
Blasphemy! was a discussion of the schism between servant of the gods and the blasphemer of science all that you thought from me?
No, we actually came to make a suggestion.
If this is by more blasphemous words, then I must ask you to leave.
We are currently developing machines to assist miners to detect mana within our mana mines. They will be powered through colored mana. They will be able to receive any commands from its operator, and they will be able to physically carry out those commands.
Inconceivable.
However, we have decided to temporarily postpone the deployment of these machines. Instead, we would like to donate a batch of these machines to specifically assist the Albas sisters when treating the workers from Albas who are affected with mana shock.
What purpose would it serve you to offer such charity?
Vulnerable Abbot, we would very much like to assist your abbey.
I beg your pardon?
Originally, we had planned to construct a new hospital in Cadia, but it come to my attention that it would have gone unused. People seek salvation not from a hospital ward, but from a house of worship. But let's be honest, your abbey's resources are overwhelmed by the byproduct of Hybrid's aggressive aggregation of colored mana and P1 usage. The reality of the situation is grim, and there's no sugarcoating the fact that your abbey will not be able to save even a quarter of your current total. People afflicted with mana shock syndrome can only be saved through counteractive purified mana treatments. And those treatments can only be performed by people knowledgeable in both mana and medicine. We may share our schism in ideologies, but I believe that we both want to save as many suffering people as possible. Vulnerable Abbot, we formally request the assistance of your abbey. If you could personally convince them to be relocated to one of our neighboring or nearby clinics, I'm certain that they will be more receptive to the idea.
Intriguing.
Aside from our medical branch, they will be attended to by the machines that I described earlier. We are collaborating with the prosthetic manufacturers in order to apply synthetic skin to the units, which would make them appear more human. Nobody will ever know that it's a metallic interior underneath an automation interior. Okay, so that's where Rune comes in. Or Sarah, or whatever that girl is. Yeah, okay. And they will be more than durable enough to handle the most volatile patients. This way the abbey system won't be subjected to hazardous conduct from the patients. Internally, this work being done on our machines is known as the Sister Project, in honor of the abbey's fallen sisters. Oh, alright, so that's where the name comes from. I got it. Venerable Abbot, would you consider our proposition?
Very intriguing. So intriguing that I had almost expected a more vile proposition from a capitalist of your standing. The abbey's code of ethics forbids from entering or even entertaining any offers or requests with non-affiliates. But Abbot, you may hold your peace, Mr. Zivitz. You need not elaborate any further. But how intriguing it is that you wish to bear the burden of salvation. For someone who sounds relatively indifferent about the matter, your proposition was rather persuasive. Consider your request granted.
You really mean it?
I do, but I will not permit the presence of your machines within the confine of this abbey.
Why not? If they're around here, then the abbey system won't be in harm anywhere.
I agree that this situation needs to meet a swift conclusion, without any more losses of life to the populace of this abbey. But your deep-rooted agnostic ideology makes you blind to the will of the people who come seeking salvation. They desire to be spared from death from the divine, not your mana-powered machinery. No matter how much their human-like skin meshes to their metal exteriors, or how convenient or obedient they are, they will never be human. There is no purpose in gaining salvation from the hands of the lifeless.
Was Sid?
Just silenced by a member of the clergy? However, I do condone your efforts to deliver salvation to the sufferings. You may use the name of the Abbey to begin relocating our current patients to your clinics. Allow me some time to inform Convent of my decision. Huh? What? Huh? Oh my.
How is there a disconnect? What happened?
I'm sorry. The bridge became unstable just now.
It did?
I'll restart the process. Just give me some time.
My lady, you alright, princess? How are you faring so far, Selphine?
Well?
Well? Do you feel okay so far? Is there anything wrong, princess?
Yes.
Yes, that you feel something wrong, or yes, that you're okay? Which one? So which is it? Yeah!
This is taking forever. I never thought it'll take so much effort just to stabilize and reestablish the bridge for the mind, Dave.
Is there a difference between this mana craft and others like it?
Under ideal circumstances, a mana crafter would have the use of a mana line with ample amounts of mana to help stabilize and replenish the user's purified mana, you know what I'm saying? However, this particular mana craft requires more than the usual required amount for stability, which drains the user's purified mana faster, leaving them fatigued.
I find it incredible that even though we three are all humans, only you two may wield the magical mana craft. It's almost as if you two were from an entirely different species.
No shit, right?
I wouldn't put it that way.
No?
Ultimately, what factors into a future mana crafter is that person's upbringing in the vicinity of ample mana line. If both Ritonan and I were to merely remain here, we will lose our tolerance to mana over time and become permanent residents of the outer pole. And then, we will be the exact same as you, Mr. Falster.
I understand now.
If I may, I had a question concerning your visit to the abbeys in Cadia. Do other cities in the outer pole worship mana deity as well?
They do indeed, yeah. And on that note, the expansion of Ziva's enterprise to most of the corners of the outer pole may all be a tribute to Eline. She was the first to suggest that we should work with Cadian Abbey and build a relationship. I didn't quite believe it at first, but there are a surprising amount of people who place all of their energies in worshipping ethereal deities.
That's outstanding, yeah. During our first day in Cadia, the pawn shop owner said that the outer pole was a god-forsaken continent, and that the lack of mana line leads to the study of science.
That's pretty accurate, yes. And although we have a great contradiction for two schools of thought, religion and science, we're all still capable of coexisting without any issue. People need to devote themselves to one or the other in order to survive. Eventually, you may even end up returning to an abbey or convent for deities that you may have personally dismissed in the past.
I suppose my presumption of the outer pole being more streamlined and less dynamic was completely wrong.
I must say, I really admire both Sid and Elan Zivitz for their determination to help those afflicted with mana shock. I feel like there's so much I could learn from them even now.
As do I, Miss Delphine. My main prerogative focus on the technological front of the business, but Sid and Eli were always so eager to improve the lives of the people living on the outer pole. Until I lost them both, I never realized the extent of their warmth and compassion embrace for all people. Lost them both? Forgive me, Mr. Falser, but I was under the impression that only Sid Zebes passed away. Did Eli and Zebes pass away as well? Sadly, yes. Weeks after Rune's body was discovered by a cargo ship, having succumbed to mana shock herself, Eli also passed away. You see, Rune poisoned her own mother before her death. She laced her mother's afternoon cup of tea with a concentrated amount of Process 1.
No!
Eli was poisoned by her own daughter?
I don't believe it!
Before poisoning Eli, Rune had frequently stopped by our branch hospital pharmacy. Several times, in fact. Evidence collected from the pharmacy indicated that she was smuggled several vials of P1, enough to kill around 10 adults. The peacemakers of Cadia discovered one vial in her room, but failed to locate the rest. Days later, we discovered that during a crucial meeting, several of our representatives, along with other conglomerate executive from around the outer pole, had all died from P1 poisoning. The incident set back all of our plans to expand Zebes Enterprise throughout the outer pole. Had the meeting gone through without any issue, the companies they are represented would have all been merged with Zebes Enterprise. Damn! I was at a sincere loss of words. What would drive the daughter of such a compassionate and kind woman to poison her own mother? Well, you haven't seen a Rudo side of you, so yeah. Why would any girl, as young as she was, commit such an atrocity? We did hear of her reputation from a few people, who all describe her as unusually difficult. I believe that may be the only civil way to quote the Lady Propertier's description of her.
One person called her Hellspawn.
You're almost honest to a fault, Selphine. I find still that the label to be highly exaggerated. What was the motive? Yeah. There has to have been some sort of motivating factor for Rune to commit such an unthinkable act, right? Unfortunately, none of the evidence that was gathered was ever dedicated of a motive. The only thing that we knew about Rune was that she was born with an unusual genetic defect. One of the last images that we captured of her cerebral cortex detected an anomaly. The affected division of her brain regulated emotional output and emotional registers. Under normal circumstances, she was never capable of feeling happiness, sadness, anger, or shock. Even though she could absorb and learn information pertaining to emotions, she would never experience them through normal stimuli. As a result, she was bereft of a guilty conscience. Mr. Falster, are you suggesting that Rune developed destructive tendencies because she could not process or register emotions like the rest of us? I can't very well confirm that now, because all the answers to our questions died with Rune. The theory of her developing an unrestrained and destructive persona, is one of that was discussed, but bore no fruit.
Excuse me, I really hate to interrupt, but I've managed to re-establish the bridge.
Are you certain you wish to continue, Miss Delphine? You appear slightly pale. You do? I guess you do. Yeah.
I am certain.
Are you ready to resume where we last left off?
Yes.
Very well. The next portion concerned Rudo and Rune. Oh God. Before we begin, I must warn you both of the disturbing nature of the following events. Are you certain that you want to proceed?
I am, Mr. Foster.
The following event took place several years after Sid made contact with the abbot of Cadius Abbey. Hyvid's workers continued to almost systematically succumb to the effect of mana shock syndrome. At the time, both the Abbey and the newly constructed Zivid Medica hospital's resources were stretched quite thin. But at long last, the day came when the frost that had been accumulating on the status quo of our grief was finally shattered. One of the Abbey's affiliates had attained irrefutable evidence concerning collaboration with Hyvid's corporation by both the Cadian government and board of academics. While this finding sowed great discord between the Abbey and the government, the evidence only served to strengthen the ties between Zivid's enterprise and the Abbey. The unprecedented five-party situation we all found ourselves in was incredibly peculiar. Despite the awkwardness of it all, life moved on. Rudo, who would be designated as the de facto successor to Zivid's enterprise, proactively fostered an interest in his father's line of work and often conducted his own study and research on the topic of mana. As I mentioned previously, Rudo was the brightest boy I ever had the pleasure of meeting, and he even proved my conviction with his superb academic performance. In all honesty, Rudo genuinely enjoyed the pursuit of knowledge, even though he always complained to Eli that his study at the academics weren't challenging enough. That comment alone left a long-lasting and profound impression on me. However, there was always one thing that Rudo had to pursue. He always had to keep his eye on Rune, who was indeed an unusual difficult child to deal with. Particularly, she was frequently observed to be inflicting physical pain on others, and with a large grin on her face. No matter what she did, and no matter who she did it to, her actions still psychologically damaged and imparted unpleasant memories towards the targets of her destructive demeanor. When she was about 6 years old, though, Rune's latest acts escalated beyond the point of no return. She used a stick and stabbed out the left eye of Marcus Growley's, Hertzwan's nephew, blinding him. The Growleys have all the reason in the world to be upset, as we do.
No kidding.
What could have caused Rune to do such a horrible thing?
That's what I'd like to know. Albie, I mean. Eli, my wife's heartbroken, Albie. You know how she can be. She puts on a smile in the face of every difficult thing in life. But now, she's starving her fragile body.
I'm sorry to hear that. I'm concerned about Rudo. I hope he doesn't feel any shame or discomfort from this incident.
Albus, I think this might be a good opportunity for us.
Huh?
Yeah. He almost at that age too. I think he's ready to start carrying some of the weight.
What are you talking about?
He's become lost in his own stream of consciousness. Soon after the incident with the Growley's boy, Sid withdrew Rudo from the academy. No overt reason was ever given for the move, but I learned why soon after. The day after withdrawing Rudo from school, Sid brought the 10-year-old boy to my laboratory at Zivid Enterprise headquarters and assigned him to serve as our company's youngest intern. Laboratory 9 brought the brightest brains from around the outer pole in our one facility. Rudo, with the trauma from wrangling runes off the Growly's boy, redirected all of his energies to observing and shattering our research. Sid hoped that the constant exposure to that environment would somehow assist in grooming him into a capable leader, but Rudo was not without his shortcoming. He would enter our laboratory every morning and leave with us every evening. As an unforeseen consequence, he practically turned the boy into a complete introvert. His ability to absorb and take all of our research was incredible. However, whenever we asked for his thoughts on devising a new application for our research on a real-world scale, he always struggled greatly with conception. For all of his brilliance and willingness to learn new things, Rudo lacked an active imagination, leading to difficulties conceptualizing and innovating new application for mana. He didn't have the fire for innovation that Sid had as a child. Additionally, Rudo had an unusual penchant for being overly courteous, polite, and reserved. While these traits were not faults per se, they were often perceived as weakness. In time, the consensus of Laboratory 9's member was that no matter how much they tried grooming Rudo to become his father, he would never escape Sid's shadow. Years after Rudo began his internship at Laboratory 9, the day finally came when the peacemaker, or peacekeeper, released Rune from house arrest as penance for her actions against Markov's Growlies. During the years, she was taught by a home tutor who would often bring her by Laboratory 9 in order to expand her horizons. Who would have thought, though, it wouldn't be her horizon that needed the expanding, but our own. It became evident, the more she stopped by Laboratory 9, that her intelligence surpasses Rudo's. She could conceptualize and imagine the scenarios that Rudo could not. Several months after her first visit, she came to us and handed us a solution for a key issue that had confounded us all for some time in regards to the power source for the sister project's automations. Rune inherited both her father's brilliance and the fire of innovation, but was crippled by the absence of emotional registry, while Rudo struggled with conceptualization, but possessed his mother's compassion. In fact, I dare say that Rune could have easily surpassed Sid in terms of innovations, as her submitted solution came in depth, and far sooner than any proposal by Sid. We all came to the realization that Rune might one day be the one to succeed Sid. However, our recognition of Rune's contribution to the sister project caused Rudo to silently, but gradually, lose confidence. And yet, oddly enough, he exhibited neither jealousy nor malice. In fact, after she was released from the Peacekeeper's order, Rudo and Rune appeared to be far more cordial to each other than before. His confidence renewed, he began taking a more active role at Laboratory 9 and was promoted from intern to research assistant. Somehow, his seeming lack of an ambitious choice of post felt similar to an admission of defeat, an open acknowledgement to Rune's talents. My theory became even more evident after Rune chose to become an intern and continued to overshadow Rudo's contribution to our research. I suspected that Rune, even though she appeared to be on cordial terms with her brother, was almost intentionally trying to mentally break Rudo into a sense of inferiority. The subtleness of the entire situation was off-putting, but it only ever appeared that Rune was earnestly assisting Rudo in his research. I found it dubious that anyone not close to the siblings would have noticed the sparse runes of animosity towards Rudo. In fact, my concerns were reaffirmed one day, after both Sid and Eli came seeking my advice on the matter.